We'll move on from that, get to the topical issues, price of oil. The president says, drill, baby, drill. You're a guy that ran a fracking company. How do we balance out bringing down the price of gasoline, adding to U.S. production, but yet not destroying the oil and gas investments as well that the CNBC audience talks about and looks at every day?
Yeah, of course, it's a business, and prices are dictated by supply and demand. But we've had 4 years of an administration that's done everything it could to raise the cost to produce a barrel of oil. We're not sure if you can get a permit, to drill here, or it's going to take 18 months. You've got uncertainty. You've got to build pipelines or gathering lines to move that product to market. Well, we're not sure if you can do that. You got to do another study, another this. So when you add the costs, of course you hurt the economics. Now we're going to have a more efficient operating environment. I think we're going to see some efficiencies from scale, some efficiencies from certainty, and more credible capital markets. We've tried to starve the oil and gas industry globally, somehow thinking that's going to help climate change. There's been a lot of nonsense, and I think the agenda of this administration, this president, is to bring back common sense.
Can we have lower oil and gas prices and still have stocks that are not much lower than they are right now?
Oh, absolutely. If you lower the cost of operations, there's a lot of fat in the cost of operations. If you lower the cost of operations, that's going to flow through to lower prices, but not necessarily lower profits.
And that margin, you think, can remain steady and thus hold up, because you are the CEO of a publicly, or were, of a publicly traded company, and on the board, which you have now left, of another publicly traded company.
Absolutely. And look, it's capitalism in businesses driven by profit motives that have driven innovation, that have driven efficiency, and driven improvements in our system. And that's exactly what we want going forward in nuclear, in natural gas, in oil, in geothermal, whatever it is.
Sarah and David and Carl, right before we came to this interview, talking about tariffs and the impact they were showing. Elf Beauty stock down 25%. We know there's a pause on the potential Canada tariffs. 4.4 million barrels a day we bring in from Canada on average. Much of that going to where you're from, the Rocky Mountain, the Denver area, the upper Midwest. What is your view on potential 10% tariffs? What, if it does happen, what is going to happen to U.S. oil and gasoline prices?
Well, look, obviously the Canadian energy system is built integrated with the United States energy system. Those pipelines come to U.S. refineries that are tuned to refine that heavier, more viscous crude that Canada produces. I don't think we're going to see that change. As the president has said, this is a drug war. This is about concerns and security at our border. This is to get everyone's attention and focus on how can we reduce criminals and fentanyl and drugs that are a threat to American security coming in our borders. I think things are moving in a productive direction.
So it doesn't sound like you think that tariffs would ultimately occur.
I don't know what the future will bring there, but I know we've got very productive dialogues right now, and we're going to see a reduction in criminal activity coming across our borders.
Because I'm sure you have many friends in Canada, as do I, and they're angry about this. They're saying, well, you know what? If they want to tariff our oil, let's just ship it to Vancouver, and we're going to sell it overseas. I would call that the nuclear option. Do you see anything like that occurring if the tariffs were to occur, Mr. Secretary?
It's hard to build new pipeline capacity. Canada does have a West Coast pipeline, which is running today and exporting oil to Asia, but that's 10% or less than 10% of Canadian oil production. Yeah. But look, this president is aggressive. He doesn't like the status quo. He wants to change things and improve things. We had a lot of noise and sound and fury last time he was president about tariffs and inflation. Inflation averaged less than 2% in the 4 years he was president. Yeah. His agenda is to lower prices and better American lives. I don't see any reason to believe that's not going to happen.